Jurassic World Rebirth has just released a few days ago, so I'm going to be ranking every Jurassic Park movie, including the new one. I'm actually going to go see it in the middle of editing this video, so hopefully it delivers. Spoilers ahead, and let's get straight into it, starting with the original 1993 Jurassic Park. Ah yes, the one that started it all. The original movie, based on the book written by author Michael Crichton, explores the world of Isla Nublar, an island located off the coast of Costa Rica. The island is home to many dinosaurs that were brought back to life by extracting the blood of mosquitoes that were trapped in amber. This is all due to the research of InGen, a company owned by John Hammond, who's also the owner of Jurassic Park. Hammond, who's close to launching his dino-themed park, is hit with bad news when one of his InGen employees is killed in an accident and is now facing a lawsuit from the family, which also prompts investors to have doubts about the park. Hammond, who is urgently trying to reassure his investors, decides to bring in a group of credible experts in exchange for full funding of their current research. The group, which included Alan Grant, Ellie Sattler, and Ian Malcolm, are all fascinated by InGen's work, but question the morality of the whole project. The three are then sent on a tour of the park along with Hammond's grandchildren, but are soon caught in the middle of a storm. All the while, one of Hammond's employees is making a deal with a rival company to deliver them dinosaur embryos in exchange for a large sum of money. He shuts down the power to the park in hopes of making an escape among all the chaos. What followed is a nightmare come true for all parties involved. It soon became a story about survival, a horrifying game of life and death, with the only goal now being to escape the island unharmed. This film was just so incredible from start to finish. Everything from the storytelling, the soundtrack, the character development, it had it all. I think what this film specifically had over the others is that it was a unique idea that had never been executed before in the way that it had up until this film released. It also does a great job with intertwining multiple overarching stories, such as Dr. Grant hating kids and then being put in scenarios where he has to keep them calm under these scary situations, along with Hammond slowly realizing the mistakes that he's made through the process of trying to get his park ready for the public. So props to the writing team for that. The special effects were so ahead of its time, and to think that this movie came out over 30 years ago is just a testament to how well the production team was for this movie. Each individual character is so memorable and well written. You can really see the depth of the writing of each character's actions in the film. For example, you have the funny and charming Ian Malcolm, the strong, gritty park ranger Robert Muldoon. There's Ray Arnold, who's always seen smoking a cigarette trying to keep the situation under control. Dennis, who's an opportunist that seeks fortune through doing a shady deal. Everyone in this film matters to the audience, making them so much more attached to the story. The pacing of the film flows well, it never feels like there's any rush or drag to it, and there's cohesion between the big action sequences and the moments in between where the characters are just interacting with each other. It's just one of those classic blockbusters that you can just watch over and over and never get tired of. This one's going in the S tier. Great film, one of the most influential films of all time, and just a fun watch from start to finish. Next, we move on to The Lost World, Jurassic Park. A few years after the events of Jurassic Park, a family's vacationing on a nearby island of Isla Sorna when their daughter is attacked by a group of dinosaurs, causing InGen to face another lawsuit. This prompts John Hammond to step down from his position, which is then taken up by his nephew. We're once again reintroduced to Ian Malcolm, who in the time between spoke about what happened on Isla Nublar. By doing so, he breached the NDA that he signed with InGen, who threatened him with legal action, which also ruins his reputation and credibility. Hammond reveals to Malcolm that Isla Sorna was the original breeding ground for InGen, and now that he's out, his nephew takes over in hopes to still create a dinosaur theme park. Hammond wants to prevent this from happening, so he invites Dr. Malcolm on a mission to document the dinosaurs, in hopes of getting public support to keep them on the island free from the exploitation of others. Ian originally says no, but Hammond basically blackmails him into going, as his girlfriend is a part of the team and is already on the island, which prompts him to go as he's concerned for her well-being. Ian and his team get to Isla Sorna, find his girlfriend, and then come to find that InGen is capturing the dinosaurs on the island, and they're planning to transport them to San Diego as a part of a new Jurassic Park stadium. This prompts the team to try and free the dinosaurs and prevent them from being transported to San Diego, as Dr. Malcolm knows what these creatures are capable of. A T-Rex is sent to San Diego, breaks loose, and then is recaptured by Ian and his girlfriend using the baby T-Rex to lure him in. Isla Sorna is announced that it will be protected and left alone, ending the second film. Although this movie was a box office success and had some good elements such as the visual effects, it was nowhere near as complete as the first film. There were a lot of deficiencies with the story, the main one for me being the lack of exciting scenes. It felt like the whole movie was just, alright, they're on the island, there's a cliff scene, now they're in San Diego, and now it's over. It really felt like there was so much more to this story that could have been fleshed out, and it comes off as way too simple for my liking. The character development was also not as good as the original. Other than Jeff Goldblum's character, there was just no sense of writing something to remember any of them by. Like, I completely forgot that Vince Vaughn was in this movie until I rewatched it. There was also a lot of differences from the novel, and I feel like they could have used some of these elements, especially in the middle chunk of the story, to give it more layers. I'm giving this one a high C. I felt like the idea of a second island and InGen trying to profit off of it wasn't a bad idea, but the execution could have been a lot better. Next, we have Jurassic Park 3. This might be a hot take, but I really like this movie. I get that there are some cheesy parts in this movie, but it's just one of those movies that although people consider it to be bad, I thought it was sick as a kid. We're back on Isla Sorna. This time we see a father and a son on an illegal parasailing experience called Dinosaur. Isn't that just the best name ever? Anyways, the crew disappears and the two crash land on the island. Alan Grant is now a cuck with a midlife crisis, and he's approached by Ned Flanders and Zach and Cody's mom to be a guide for a flyover of Isla Sorna in exchange for research funding. However, the couple lie and reveal that they're here so that Grant can help them find their son and his stepdad, who were the ones that were parasailing from earlier. The craziest thing about this movie is that it was only 90 minutes long. It's almost a complete opposite of the second film, and instead of a slow pace and a few action scenes, there's a super fast pace with a bunch of action scenes. I mean, this movie had some of the best scenes in the entire franchise. There's the plane crash, the Spinosaurus versus T-Rex, the phone being in the Spinosaurus' stomach, the scene on the bridge, the entire boat scene. I mean, it was just amazing. The thing that I love about this film is that it's quick and to the point. Sure, there's not a lot of character development or well-written dialogue, and it strays away from the scientific side of the first two movies, but at least it was super fun, unlike the second movie. And other than the wife being super annoying in the movie, I generally liked all the characters. Even some of the ones that were killed immediately had some memorable moments. I also loved the whole foggy aesthetic that we got in some of these scenes. It just adds to that more horror element of the films. I really think this movie is underrated. I loved that although it was a pretty simple plot, it over-delivered with some of the crazy moments that we got in this film. I'm gonna give this one a low B. I think that this movie gets way too much hate, and it's a pretty fun watch from beginning to end. We now get to the start of the new trilogy with Jurassic World. We head back to Isla Nublar, but this time it's been transformed into a fully functional park/resort. Brothers Zach and Gray are sent to the park where their Aunt Claire is in charge of operations at Jurassic World. She reveals to investors that the scientists are working on their first hybrid dinosaur known as the Indominus Rex in hopes of increasing profits at the park. Our main character Owen is introduced as a ranger trainer type of guy that can communicate with velociraptors, one being Blue, who stands out among the rest. Owen is sent to check on the Indominus Rex, but it escapes because, you know, it happens in every movie. The brothers almost get killed by the Indominus Rex and end up finding the old Jurassic Park. Owen's forced to use the raptors to find Indominus Rex, but they begin communicating with each other as it has velociraptor DNA, causing them to switch sides. Later on, Owen befriends them again. T-Rex versus Indominus Rex. Blue jumps in, Mosasaurus hungry, takes big bite, and that's basically the end. I remember going to see this movie in theaters when I was younger, and it was a very unique experience. This was the first time we saw a fully functioning park with the large amounts of visitors, trainers, the corporate side, the scientific side. They did a solid job with making this movie less one-dimensional than some of these other entries. I loved Chris Pratt's portrayal of a character that is experienced and knows how to use certain techniques to survive, such as when he cut the oil line from the car. I wish there were more clever moments moments of outsmarting dinosaurs than just nerfing them and making them look dumb. I also loved his connection with Blue, not just in this movie but the entire trilogy. I also think Bryce Dallas Howard is hot. Just a side note, I will say too, this movie probably has the funniest death out of any Jurassic movie. I mean, Claire's assistant gets dragged by the Pterosaurus and then gets eaten by the Mosasaurus. I don't know why. I might be a psychopath for laughing at that, but it was just the most Looney Tunes death in the franchise's history. There were some things that I wish this movie did a little bit better. I think the plot kind of just recycled the first movie and added a little modern twist to it. I also wish that we had a few more interactions with dinosaurs. I don't know, I feel like they could have had some cool ideas that could have tied into the plot and enhanced some parts. I'm gonna give this one a solid B. I have it as the second best Jurassic movie, and it does a great job bringing back hype to the franchise. Now, you want to know what doesn't bring back hype is these next two movies, because boy oh boy, we have some stinkers. We go to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. So long story short, these mercenaries recovered the Indominus Rex's bones from the first movie to create a new hybrid known as the Indoraptor. A volcano is about to blow on Isla Nublar. Ian Malcolm returns and says the dinosaurs are better off dying, while Claire organizes a rescue group. Benjamin Lockwood, one of Hammond's old partners, funds the mission. Claire recruits Owen. Owen wants to find Blue. They go to the island. Claire gets tricked into quote-unquote saving the dinosaurs when they're going to be sent back to Lockwood's estate to be auctioned off. Lockwood dies, the auction begins, the Indoraptor escapes, Blue impales the Indoraptor, and Lockwood's granddaughter is revealed to be a clone. The dinosaurs are all released by Lockwood's granddaughter, and that's the end. This was similar to the problem with The Lost World. It was a pretty interesting idea that was just executed poorly. I really think the whole Maisie being a clone thing was dumb. I really couldn't care less about the character. I thought the idea was cool to have it take place in a mansion, but at the same time, the third act just seems so congested. I really do like how Blue just goes and murks every big dinosaur in the movie. She's legit the King Von of the dinosaur world. One of the few things that I liked about the movie was the visuals and the soundtrack, especially in the scene where the volcano erupts and all the dinosaurs are left stranded. I also like Bryce Dallas Howard is hot, and yeah, that's pretty much it. This one's getting a D. I like the idea of the auction, but I feel like that should have been the halfway point of the film. Maybe it could have had another sequence elsewhere, but it is what it is. We get to Jurassic World Dominion. I'm not gonna lie, this movie will always have a special place in my heart, as it's the first movie where I fell asleep in the theater. I remember my brother had to wake me up because of how boring this shit was. But anyways, the movie starts off by showing the shared world of humans and dinosaurs. Owen and Claire are raising Maisie, and then Blue shows up out of nowhere and is like, hey, I have a kid. Maisie names the kid Beta, and then Maisie and Beta get kidnapped. We see Alan and Ellie again trying to solve this giant locust problem. Alan realizes now's his chance because Ellie's divorced now. Claire and Owen go to Malta where they find Beta and Maisie are kidnapped by Biosin, the rival company to InGen. Claire and Owen's plane crashes, they start nostalgia farming, the main villain dies, world saved, you know the rest. This movie should have just been called Locust Park because this shit had nothing to do with dinosaurs. The motorcycle scene was cool, the plane scene was cool, and you already know what else. Other than that, it really just felt like they just wanted to get the entire cast together for like an Avengers level team up. But the problem is, the movie was just so fucking boring.
Holland, boring!
This really felt like it should have just been one of those 30-minute mini films released with the DVD version of an actual film, because the plot was just so dumb. It really just feels like after Jurassic World, they decided to stop making Jurassic Park movies and started to make dinosaur-themed movies, and then just throwing shit to the wall hoping it sticks. This one's getting an F, one of the worst movies that I've ever seen, and thank you Universal for giving me the best night's sleep when I got home, because this was a snooze fest. Now to end it all off, we have the newest addition to the franchise, Jurassic World Rebirth. I just got back from seeing it in theaters, so yeah, spoiler warning if you haven't seen this movie, just mute and go do something else. I need that viewer retention, so finish the video. Anyways, let's get into it. So InGen is shown to be mutating dinosaurs, and it creates the D-Rex. Really funny name, yeah, I know. I was dying in the theaters when I saw that shit. Fast forward, Martin Krebs, some big pharma guy, comes to Zora Bennett and asks her to get blood samples from 3 different dinosaurs. One by air, one by land, one by sea. The purpose is to use these samples to find a cure for heart disease. Zora agrees when Martin tells her that they're willing to pay her $10 million. She gathers her crew. There's Henry Loomis, Duncan Kincaid, and a few others. They sail to the island. At the same time, there is another family that's sailing around the world. Their ship gets capsized, but the group is rescued by Zora's crew. They get the first sample from the Mosasaurus, crash on the beach, some of the crew dies, and then the family gets separated from the original crew. They get the second sample pretty easy. The family's running around and escapes a T-Rex with a raft. The third sample is obtained from a Quetzalcoatlus. I hope I pronounced that right. The group reunites. Martin steals the samples and gets ripped in half by the D-Rex. The group make their escape to a boat where Duncan lures the T-Rex away. He survives. They get the samples, decide to use it for good instead of selling it to Big Pharma, and that's the end. Now here are my thoughts about this movie. This movie was so mid, but there were some good scenes in it. That's the best way to describe it. Go see the movie and you'll understand what I'm talking about. It wasn't terrible, it wasn't great. I think it was such an okay movie, and I'll explain. First off, the plot might just be the simplest movie plot of all time. Like, I genuinely think a kid could have wrote it. Rich people hire a group to get something from dinosaurs. Dinosaurs kill some of the crew. Crew escapes. The end. Now, there's nothing wrong with the plot being simple, but it really felt like the biggest nothing burger of a movie. When people talk about money laundering in Hollywood, like, this was such an easy money glitch for Universal. It was almost too simple. As I said, simplicity isn't always a bad thing, but my problem with this movie was that it was so predictable. Like, there was never any element of surprise in these scenarios. The only surprises I got from seeing this movie was when I thought something was going to happen, only for nothing to happen. It was a very linear feeling movie. And you know, one thing that I feel like I don't see anyone else talking about, I genuinely feel like this plot could have been a pretty good plot if it was a video game. Like, just imagine a Jurassic Park video game where you have to get 3 samples, one from an air creature, one from a land creature, one from a sea creature, and each of them being a boss. And then you see an ugly mutated dinosaur that's like the final boss, and then you have to escape the island in the end. But anyways, back to the movie. Let's talk about the characters. I mean, they could not have written more bland characters in this movie. Like, come on. You gotta season some of these characters, put some flavor into their stories. It was just like, alright, Zora and Duncan have some PTSD, Kreb is a slimy businessman, and then the family was just so bland. The only character that had some dimensionality to them was the daughter's boyfriend, but he was just used as a douchey character who just makes dumb remarks. I really did like Henry Loomis and Martin Krebs. I thought their characters stood out among the others, but other than that, everyone else was just uninteresting. Now let's talk about the good things. The action scenes were actually pretty sick. I love the whole boat sequence where they're trying to get the sample all the way down to the crash landing and where they escape the Spinosaurus. I also love the raft scene. There was such a good buildup of tension. Although I didn't like how the T-Rex was super slow. I thought maybe they could have made like the water flow faster or something. I don't know. Then there was the Quetzalcoatlus scene, and the entire final act was pretty cool with the helicopter being destroyed and the convenience store section. I think in terms of pacing, this movie started off so slow. It started heating up from the boat part all the way to the escape part, but then it just felt like, damn, that's it? The movie really reminded me of Jurassic Park 3 in a way, where the idea was pretty dumb, but the execution somehow worked. I think a big problem moving forward is what is the future of this franchise gonna look like, as there really wasn't anything where I was like, this is gonna be cool to explore in the sequel. I honestly wouldn't be mad if it was just a one-off. I feel like nowadays everything is just over-connected, and we should bring back a time where we had one-off summer blockbusters. But other than that, it was an okay movie to me. I'm gonna give it a C. It's sure a hell of a lot better than the last 2 movies, but I still felt like this movie felt a bit hollow. I'll say it again. If it was the same story for a video game, I feel like it could have done well. But for a movie, it was alright. There you go, that's my rankings for every Jurassic World movie. Let me know in the comments your rankings of the films. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me stay motivated in providing you all with better content. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you all for watching and see you next time. Goodbye.